Hello everyone. Today I want to do an analysis of 1-3 cash game in Encore Wynn Las Vegas, which I played on December 19. There's been a lot of hands, but I selected 10 which I found the most interesting, so this doesn't take like forever. I would also put all details on one slide for each hand, so if you just want to like skim through and just interested in the results more and like in hand themselves more, and rather than like analysis in detail, you can just do that. Let's get started. So structure in buy-in is like buy-in from 100 to 500. I started with 300. Rake is progressive, so they take like $1 from first $10, another $1 from second $10, and up to like $5 max, and no rake pre-flop, which is really nice. But it seems like they are able to do that because they have a like casino, so they can offset that like with casino wins comparing to the card rooms who just need to survive based on like card games themselves. So let's check this one where I go all in with a top pair and some draws. Have ace queen of suit with queen of clubs on small blind. There are two limps, so I raise to 15 and get one caller. I normally raise to like 3 big blinds 9, but I think out of position I can raise 12, so I probably could have raised 18. It's not a big difference. Okay, so I get one caller. Flop is giving me a royal flush draw and like top pair and like a gut shot. So I get 15 and gets raised to 30. Now that it gets interesting, so my opponent has like about 200. I like to play this hand aggressively because I have a lot of outs even if I'm behind. And I want to like potentially blow away the draws. Also, at the same time, that is not like that shouldn't be that big of a focus because I have some of the best draws. I only have trouble with like a king of clubs. So, but if I'm against something like king 9 of clubs, so I'm crushed. But if I'm against a set, I can probably get my money in. But again, it's also probably not the best choice. Now that I think about it, I should probably just like call and try to improve, because the raise it's like a tricky raise. It might already indicate a flush. So like all legitimate hands that actually get a raise, they beat me with like a high percentage, maybe like 70 to 80% equity. And semi bluffs can include something like King X, maybe like some 8-9. So, but my thinking was, okay, I have like a top pair and a strong draw, so let me just go all in. So I got my flush on the river and got lucky because opponent showed king queen for a straight. So yeah, like I think I won more than I could have, but like EV wise, it's probably been like a more of a negative play. So yeah, again, I would probably just a call next time, and just probably I can call down turn. Maybe this is gonna be what, another bet of like 60 or so in the river, maybe like probably all in. But then I can potentially fold if I don't improve. So yeah, don't get overly aggressive with draws, because like people these days call, and even not with a super strong combination, because they may put you on a draw. Another one, all in with a double gutter. You have queen jack of spades in the middle position and raise to 9. There are some calls. There is loose small blind 3 bets to 30. There are calls. I went in. I think I knew that like people are generally not super aggressive, and like would probably just like I think there were like almost no 4 bets happening. So I thought that people would just call, and that's what happened. 5 people got in, so it's just good implied odds. And people were playing usually like pretty deep, maybe like 300 to 500, sometimes like 200, but still, yeah, it's like implied odds are all there. So I think calling 3 bets with like many players in is still pretty good with like a hand which has a good potential. So flop is ace 10 8, giving me a double gutter straight draw, and small blind quickly bets 70. So at this point we have like about 150 in the pot plus 70, it's like 220. So if I go all in, I think I have like about, let's say, 33 like 1/3 of equity versus hands that call me. So if I'm getting called with this all in, I'm losing like 100, roughly 120. So let's see, yeah. Actually, no, wait. So if I'm getting called, I'm winning 500 with probability 1/3, so it's like roughly 170, and I'm losing 350 with probability 2/3. That is like 220. So I'm losing about like $50 if I'm getting called on this. However, if I get a fold, I win 220. So as long as I have about like 20% fold equity, let's say like a break even all in. So small blind was pretty loose. So I thought maybe he can just fold some weak ace. He may fold some draws, and I probably have a good fold equity. So I go all in, but he ended up calling. So he had like ace king, and king came on the turn. So yeah, here I just got lucky, but I think I would probably play the hand more or less the same way. I think against a tight player, it may be just a fold, but it's kind of tough because the double gutter is like one of the best hands I can get with my hand. Well, obviously except some mate hand which I flop, but that doesn't happen all too often. So folding that is kind of tricky, but I can always just like call and see if I can improve. And I think that versus a tight player, it's generally best strategy because there was gonna be always like more, probably just ace king, like aces. At the same time, yeah, I don't think this player who's gonna 3-bet or like a continuation bet, sorry, versus like 5 players in with the ace when he has like kings or queens. So yeah, he would probably have like something, maybe like ace queen suited or something, which he like I'm not sure he's gonna fold on all in. So, but maybe he will because he's tighter. I think for loose player it works differently. I want them to fold like some low aces, which may be like a relatively big chunk of their range. Versus a tight player, there is like less range to fold, but also they're like more likely to fold some hand like ace queen, for example. So I might still play it similar way against a tight player too. But then I also need to play sets in similar way. And ace king, I probably just 4-bet pre-flop. So yeah, let's check jacks in a tough spot. That's not a news. I have jacks in early position, raise to 10, there are 3 callers, then raise to 20 and 4-bet to 40. That's a nasty spot because the problem is like those mean raises often indicate strengths. So I might as well just be already beat by like some queens plus. At the same time, I only get like 30 to call, and there is a good chance that other people are calling. So with deep stacks, I decide to do so and like just go for a set equity, but be very cautious post flop. So two more players call. Flop is 6-5-4 spades. So yeah, I think I'm done because a bunch of stuff either beats me or have this like very high equity draw, and I have like 3 opponents in. So 4-better goes all in for 210. I fold, and there are also calls for like 210 and 40. And turn and river are both spades. So let's see what they show. Yeah, 4-better shows aces. Caller shows like 8-6. And another caller shows queens. So yeah, I was crushed. But yeah, like given the board run out, there would be like a chop. But I think overall I played the hand correctly here. Fold pre-flop might be possible, but I still think that's like, given a set equity, that's still probably a call with deeper stacks. Although if I had something more like, I don't know, 200, I would just like muck. So that's a big hand with getting a set, and also I was like trying to bluff an aggressive player. So I had a stack about like 570, almost like 200 big blinds. So I have 8 on the big blind. There is a raise from early positions of 7. Yeah, there's been a guy who was always raising like 7, which is like 2 1/3 of big blind. Maybe like a tournament player. I haven't figured it out, but like in this kind of cash games, this kind of raise is very similar to a limp. And people would generally raise like 3 to 5 blinds. I think even my raise of 3 blinds was like pretty rare. People would raise at least like 10, but more often would raise like 12 or 15. But here's a 7. There are some calls and kind of aggressive small blind raises to 22. I decide to bluff here. And I was thinking that I have a decent chance to like just pick up a pot. However, I get 2 callers. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is a best hand to bluff, because it doesn't block anything. And if opponents have something like aces, kings, queens, they are like sticking around, or like ace king. No, jacks, they would. Small blind may probably like fold jacks. But yeah, I think overall like ace x suited is kind of a better hand suited for this bluff. At the same time, I still have some implied odds even with this 4-bet to like set mine. It's not looking super great, so it's kind of close to just like 1 in 8. So it's so 1 out of 8. So it's like similar to the odds of just getting a set. But that's like assuming I always lose. If like if I do this bluff and don't catch a set, so it assumes kind of like that people always call me and I don't get a set and I have to fold, but that's not gonna happen. So oftentimes people would fold. So overall, I think it's still like a profitable re-raise given my read. Flop is a set with like a flush draw. So there are checks. I don't want to slow play it because of the draws available. And also people like may consider this like bluffy with like maybe with that I have ace king or something, and like call me with all sorts of hands. Yeah, so the pot was something like 220, so I bet like about 2/3. I think it's a good sizing. So there is a fold, small blind calls. I'm pretty happy about it. Turn is ace. It's a bit of a scary card because he may have had aces, but probably he would like like 5 bet with those. So, but my hand is still very strong, so I just go all in for remaining like about 350 and get a call. On the reverse there is a 10 and I win. Opponent didn't show, so I wasn't doubled up, which is really good. So yeah, I think if I didn't get my set, I'll still probably bet the flop, but then like I guess or bet like most flops. So if there is a flop with an ace, I bet. Or if there is a flop with a king, I probably like bet as well. Some low flops are actually tricky. Because if people would have like some pairs, they would just like call you, like even like let's say like pair of tens or whatnot, or like jacks. So at the same time, they would probably like more likely to fold that to a 4 bet. So yeah, that's the thing that 4 bet range is generally pretty strong if it's balanced well. So it doesn't have all that many bluffs. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe on a low flop it's gonna have like ace king and I don't know ace x suited. So I think the range where like my opponent stays in and also has already like connected well with this flop is still like pretty low. So because he calls out of position, so I think like some connectors like I don't know 6-5 suited are less likely. So I think this range is gonna be kind of narrow here. Maybe like queens, maybe like jacks. I mean the range where he can like continue versus continuation bet. So I still think continuation bet would be pretty good. Although I might consider betting like smaller in this case, something like 70. There's a tricky part though to this. I need to make sure my sizing is balanced. So if I bet like 2/3 with a set and bet 1/3 with ace king, that's like easy to exploit. But one thing my opponents may not necessarily know this. So, but overall, I think with for bet range is generally pretty strong. So I kind of have an some of nut advantage and some range advantage. So I might just as well bet like 2/3 every time. And yeah, if I had, for example, ace king, my opponent just calls. I would probably like if this run out happens, I would still probably just go all in on the turn with my ace, just given the pot size. And maybe get calls with some like queens or jacks. But yeah, I think that seems like a lot of big blinds, but at the same time, given 4 bet pot, like the stack to pot ratio is pretty small, so I think it's still like a reasonable play. And I don't expect my opponent to have like many nuts here with just like calling, I don't know, maybe like what, 6s or something is probably not gonna call. But also some like as practice shows, some opponents may still like call that. Even if like set mining doesn't look like as good for them. But yeah, let's get to the next one. This is one where I think my problems kind of stemmed from like calling pre-flop. So there's been a pretty big raise to 15. I think queen jack suited on the middle position is according to like GTO, I think it's a fold from against early position raise. Because it's more likely to get dominated. Also, like Jack 10 suited is still like a call. And King Jack King 10 suited maybe like a 3 bet. But also the fact that like the raise is like 5 big blinds that make that I need to play tighter. I might still go in if there are like multiple callers, but here I think I should have just like folded and waited for a better spot. Flop is like jack some low cards with 1 diamond. This is a bet 25 and I just call. Turn is a 10 of diamond, is bet 50 I call, and the river is at 8 of spades. Is bet 100 I call and lose to aces. So again, I need to have some bluff catchers because like some aggressive opponents may be blasting just with like some ace king or like ace queen. And like jack seems like a good bluff catcher. And also it's like I think one of the like more common hands I would like make with this starting hand. So you can say I kind of got unlucky, but at the same time it's like a big amount of big blinds lost. So yeah, I think if the raise was more like a standard one, let's say to 10, then a bet would probably be like more like 15, 30, and maybe like 60. So I would lose like probably two times less, even if I just call it down. So I would say overall, yeah, just watch out for like raise sizing, and if you like calling with implied odds hands, like don't invest too much if the like raise is too big. Then here I played aggressively with bottom 2 pair, have like 6-4 diamonds on big blind, there are some limps, raise to 15, there's some call. I decided to go in thinking that like other limpers would call, and I was correct. Probably these days I would just like fold it, and because raise is pretty big, and the hand is like not super strong, so I think you are supposed to call this hand from a raise from a button. If it's like just like folds to you, or like think button raises, small blind folds, so it's a playable hand. But here I would gonna be like out of position, and maybe there are some limpers like tricky and re-raise, so I'm gonna lose my raise from this. But it didn't happen. So I think it turned out like pretty well for me. I flopped bottom 2 pair, but there is a flush draw. Small blind bets 25. That's a kind of vulnerable hand. I may get like counterfeited by a 9. There may be flush card come. There's some straight draws are available. So I just decide to like raise it, make a substantial raise to 100, get 2 folds and small blind calls. Turn is a 7 of spades. I don't like it. Small blind checks. So at this point, pot contains like something like 250 to 270, and my stack is like about 320. So like I think it's a tough spot. I could check, but then if another spade comes, I may just like lose the hand like kind of easily, and then maybe like 8, 5, or like 10 can be all like also pretty bad cards. And if like I check and small blind later like goes all in on a river, I kind of wouldn't know what to do. So I think like in maybe 20 to 30% of cases I would be in a tough spot, and with some like 20% of cases I would need to fold my hand, like most likely. So I don't like this. I decided, okay, if he has flush, like yeah, I'm just beat. But I think like for example, if he had something like 7-8, then he would just like fold, or like ace-9. So also probably I can just take down this big pot right now. So I just go all in. Yeah, but that's another problem is playing those bottom 2 pairs, so that they're kind of vulnerable, because like for example another 9 or another 7 would just counterfeit them. Then there are problems with like flushes or straights available, so not loving it really. So yeah, if I played it, yeah, if I played it again, yeah, I would probably just fold pre-flop, and then a turn. Yeah, I think like I'm only afraid of straight from like 3-5 or maybe some random 10-8, but 10-8 is only gonna call my raise if it's like spades, so that already got a flush. So yeah, I think it's just another case where like playing a marginal hand leads to some tough decision post flop, so it's better to just avoid it altogether. Versus an aggressive bluffer. That's been like an interesting player who would just like pretty much pick any line and it could be just a bluff. So you could just go with any two cards and like this hand's demonstrated pretty well. I have like 5-3 of diamonds and this, I don't remember the position, but I decide to raise to 10. This aggressive bluffer calls. Flop is completely misses me. I continuation bet, get a raise to 30. I'm thinking that he may be easily like bluffing, so I decide to float. That said, is like overall I should have probably folded pre-flop because 5-3 of diamonds is I think it's only like playable from a button or something, or like a call from a big blind. And the fact that there is some aggressive bluffer, it's like not a justification to play this hand because it cannot even like bluff catch really well. So yeah, I got raised. I don't want to give up just yet. I call, then turn is 6. I check, there is a bet 45, I check raise to 140, and he still calls. At this point, I'm thinking that, okay, I'm probably beat. Like, river is 10 of hearts, so I'm like, I was really considering bluffing with like 250 bet or so to like show a flush. And maybe it could have succeeded, but also he could have just went all in for the rest of my stack. This guy was really unpredictable. So I check, he comments about something like maybe have like a pair of jacks or whatnot, and bets 110, which is like a relatively small part of the pot. Yeah, that's like a problem with playing this kind of a hand, that I don't have a bluff catcher. I don't even have like ace high. But I even tried to bluff catch him with ace high in another hand, and it also didn't turn out well. So I just like fold. He shows queen 2 of suits, so yeah, he's just was like playing it like, I don't know, a completely different hand and didn't care about hand strength at all. And now in this hand, like part 2, he just had me prepared really well. So I have ace7 suited on a big blind. He raises to 20. I decide to like 3-bet because he raises with all sorts of junk, and he goes all in for like 450. Again, I thought about, given the history, that he may just be like blasting it with like whatever, and decided to call. But he woke up with ace king suited. Yeah, so that's how like being this kind of a bluffer may pay off. But I got lucky and caught my 7 and got to stack of 900. That said, given all the history, I don't know. I may have played it a like similar way, to be honest. Yeah. So overall, I think the lesson here is like, don't play bad hands and don't like try to really just go too much out of the line versus like somebody who's like aggressive bluffer who can play into hands because any two cards, because they are like, they still gonna like catch something pretty frequently, and like you don't wanna bluff catch them on ace high like all the time, for example. So here I did a 3-bet, king 10 suited. So loose player raises to 15. I decide to 3-bet to 45, and another loose player calls. The original raiser also calls. Flop is a low flop with like 7 and some flush draw. I decide to continuation bet small because I don't have much nuts here. But I think I still have some range advantage because like people who call me, they may still be like against like aces, kings, and I'm probably like I'm like generally stronger than them. So the cold caller calls, another player folds. Turn is an 8. I decide to keep blasting, just trying to represent that like aces or kings, and it succeeds. Opponent shows jacks, and the end folds. Um, so again, I think with cold caller, yeah, that's probably a situation where I would have some kind of jacks or like tens, maybe queens. So again, I think I got lucky to some degree that I wasn't like called down because some like loser players might just like decide, okay, that's jacks over pair, it's really good. He keeps blasting with ace king or whatnot. So yeah, but here it worked out and it's pretty nice. And then like one probably last hand here is top pair, top kicker. But it kind of demonstrates that you need to be careful against like mean raises. So yeah, I have ace king offsuit in early position, raise to 10, get a couple of callers, flop ace queen 8 with one diamond. I bet 25 and one loose player calls. But his range can be pretty wide. It can be like some ace x suited, maybe even like ace x offsuit. I'm generally like quite ahead here. Maybe like also king queen, like some queen jack. Maybe even some gut shots like or double gutters like jack 10. Turn is a 7. I bet to 60 and gets raised. So there aren't any like straights or flushes available yet. But that's like this kind of mean raise. It's just, from my experience, it often indicates some strengths. And I don't see that many bluffs here. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe some like diamond kind of decide to semi-bluff, like 2 diamonds. But all in all, like I think against the default player it may be just better to get out of the way. But I call, river is another 7. I check, there is a bet of 100. I think that's like, also I should continue. Again, I should probably just like fold, because after I called, like opponent like kind of can slow down with the bluff, is there some chance, but he didn't. So yeah, I think like if you kind of don't stop at somewhere, you're just like paying off all those like value bets. So unless you know that your opponent is some kind of like a maniac, maybe just better to fold. Overall, this session ended up for me like pretty poorly. So I kind of first started winning a lot, then I kind of lost it all. And my analysis indicated that I think I could have saved a lot of that just by better pre-flop play. So I studied the charts. I got like advanced cash game course from like Jonathan Little's poker coaching. And I think later you can see if it like improved something. I'm gonna make some more videos about those cash games. But yeah, don't play any like bad cards pre-flop. Like consider raise sizing and just like wait for a spot. Even though it sometimes may be like maybe like a long wait time. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time.